Hi, Rocky. My name is Dayun, and I'm a South Korean intern and student ambassador in the OWN Academy, and so great to have you in our future fair. Would you please explain briefly about yourself, your background, especially what you're doing?
Yeah, hi. Firstly, it's great to be doing, Future Fair again. My name's Rocky, and I am the founder, co-founder, and creative director here at Kith Kin. Um, Kith Kin is a branding agency. We focus on graphic design, brand identities, and brand strategies. Yeah.
I see. So in your bio, I heard that you studied product design at London Central St. Martin's, and then like you developed a hands-on approach to design, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Would you explain how you became fascinated by materials and how we interact with them?
So when I went to St. Martin's, the course is very like on the technical side of product design.
Mhm.
So product design is, just a quick intro, is as it says on the tin, right? It's designing products for people, things you use every single day. And our course director, his name was Chris Terry, and professionally, he was a materials expert, materials and manufacturing. So naturally, when he led the course, it was really focused on materials and manufacturing. And from there, you come to a realization that everything in the world is designed and everything in the world is made out of something in a certain way.
Mhm.
And that's kind of how I got really interested in it. You kind of see everything as Lego. And as you learn more, and now that, I've been doing this for a while, you see everything as its parts, and you have a really good understanding how everything is put together, how everything is made, and you never stop having that. At least I never stopped having that fascination. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. It must have been a very inspiring period for you. Mm.
Yeah, it's like I don't know how many students will get this reference, but like, the Matrix, when
Mhm.
you wake up and you see how the world works, it's kind of like that, where you see exactly how everything is made. Like you'll know the material, and the manufacturing method, and what it's capable of, and if you take it apart, you'll be able to put it back together again, and that's what was really interesting about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Seems like you had some certain kind of epiphany in the design
I
material.
think a lot of designers, when they go through design school, they do have a certain epiphany, of
Mhm.
kind of seeing behind the veil a little bit. Yeah.
And also, it's very interesting how you said that your team identifies not only what the customer wants, but what they truly need. And would
Hmm.
you tell me like how you do that? How do you identify what they truly need?
So for us, when you start out in branding and stuff like this, or any kind of design, um, you tend to do what like the client think they want. They
Mhm.
come to you and say, "Hey, we want a poster, or we want a logo, or we want a flyer or a website," right? That's how it usually works. But no one, well, you tend to not really ask the client, like, why do you really want this, right? And there was a time around 5, 6 years ago where we started asking ourselves that question. We caught ourselves doing a lot of stuff, and we didn't know why we were doing it. So we came up with a new process, which is kind of the more strategy side of things. Is before we do any designing, now with every single project and every client, we do a couple of workshops which span 3, 4 days. And really, that is, we sit down with them, and with our workshop, our method, and a couple of exercises, we discover what that business needs, together with our clients. So it's a very collaborative process. And through this discovery workshop, we get to, one, on our end, learn about the business, but two, for our clients' end, they get to kind of rediscover their business as well.
Mm.
A lot of times when people start businesses, they have an image in mind, a very clear pathway, they come up with scenarios and they come up with what they think their clientele is and what they think their message is. But after the workshops, they realize there is some points that they are off, you know. So we guide them into discovering kind of their true market and their true messaging. Yeah.
Wow. It seems like you're doing a very important role, like in solidifying the identities of each client, right? And
Mm.
I'm so curious, could you walk through your work processes, like how you manage your work schedules and how you do your work, like all
Mm.
of those that you explained just now?
Yeah, of course. So from meeting a client,
Hmm.
um, you know, we prefer to meet in person, but obviously that's doesn't make sense anymore. So we try to do as many face-to-face conversations as we can
Hmm.
initially. And it's very important for us to first understand where their brief is.
Hmm.
And then from there, once everything gets locked down, then that's when we start planning our scheduling of doing our workshops, whether it's discovery workshop or if they need naming, brand messaging and stuff like that. And that will be the first chunk of this project. You know, a project normally, I mean, obviously there is smaller projects and bigger projects, but normally this is 3 to 4 6 month kind of timeline
Hmm.
from start to finish. So after we do all our discovery workshops, which we usually do in person, then we'll have a strategy summary. So that's all the information we've distilled from the workshop, from us learning about their business
Hmm.
and their goals. And we come up with a summary deck. This summary deck is kind of like our handshake with the client of this is where our starting point is. This is what we've agreed upon your company and your business is going to be and how we're going to represent it. And then with all that information, we move on to the actual design work. So we start with mood boarding. So based off of the user profiles that we generate, which are kind of ideal customers based off of real people,
Hmm.
then we build mood boards and a story behind it. And then from mood boards, we work into generation. And then from concept generation, we start refining the design. This is a real project that we did this year
I see.
called Madame Rouge and Maison Rouge.
Mm-hmm.
So Madame Rouge and Maison Rouge is based in Thailand,
Mm-hmm.
and it is a cabaret and burlesque theater troupe. So from here, we have our strategy summary.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, through the workshops, we break it down into these 5 factors, which is your culture, a brand's voice, how they want people to feel, what their impact is, and what makes them unique. So from here, you can see with the generation, we have this mission statement, which is the first step in moving a brand forward. Here we have different archetypes. So archetypes are personalities, and we link these personalities with brands. It gives us a really solid idea of how to translate abstract ideas into, you know, imagery in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the important bit that we really push forward is customer profiles. So when we're talking about what brands need, brands and businesses, they need customers.
Mm-hmm.
And what brands really need is to fulfill their customers' needs.
Mm-hmm.
So for a brand to be successful, and when we move forward, is you really need to be able to understand who your customers are so that you can meet them, right?
Right.
So we generate these different customer profiles and we try to get as detailed as possible. You know, like Emily is a lover of dogs and she's got like dogs and she takes them on hikes and she's got brown hair. You know, you really want to make these made up people as real as possible
Mm-hmm.
so you can get in their shoes, right? And then we look at different priorities of businesses, right? So you have revenue priorities, awareness. So that's like marketing,
Mm-hmm.
and they've got efficiency. So from here, we also are able to find how their operations work, and then look at what they prioritize. And from there, we'll be able to see where some of the design opportunities.
I see.
Hmm. So moving on to mood boards, from all this, based off of the mission statement, then we get a really good idea of how we want to visually interpret this. So this was the first mood board. This was for Maison Rouge, which is kind of a woman-focused safe space in this building where, you know, they get to share and be in a little community.
Yeah.
And then the branching off of Madame Rouge is the cabaret and burlesque troupe that does performances, right? So these are images we bring in, whether from books or the internet, and we manipulate them just to give a client a really good idea of what their brand could look like. So we adjust colors, we match different logo inspirations together. We do mock-ups, you know, like these matchbooks and notebooks and stuff. We'll mock up found imagery on them just so that they get a general sense. So moving from there, we go into our sketchbooks and Illustrator. So Illustrator is a software we use a lot.
I see.
Illustrator and Photoshop. And this is when we start sketching. So I've got some scans here at the bottom of some typography, brought in some logo marks that I think I like the style of. And we do a lot of, you know, variations of sketches. And then we'll mock stuff up. So here we're playing with iconography, typography, and script, different types of lockups, right? How things would look like on a darker background and on photography. And we start trying to realize that, okay, we've got this first concept here, we've got this idea, let's make them into things. What would a website look like? A business card, right? And posters. So this will then get given to a client in another PDF deck here, right? So this was the first round of design. So this all gets sent to the client, we present to them. So this was the first Madame Rouge logo. So we show the logos in white and black or black and white, just so you can see the different contrasts and applications. Here is a lockup of all the different elements. So from this page, you get a really good sense of what the brand kind of looks like, right? You see the typography, the headers, and then some mock-ups. So you've got matchbooks and business cards. So it's really important for the client to be able to see the brands applied in real life things. So all this gets sent to the client, and the client goes, oh, I hate it, or I love it, or I like this part, but not so much this part. And we take all this information down and we move on to a second phase, right? The second phase is refinement. So refinement, it's kind of like generation. So for the client is, they like the idea of the logo, but it was a bit too abstract. So you just keep doing versions, right, until something sticks. So you can see here, we're trying to work with making a body for the head, right? What do burlesque dancers wear? And we interpret it into this iconography style. But it was really complex. So let's move to something a little abstract and let's break it down. And you keep going and you go, that doesn't work. And you work with your team and they suggest maybe we should change the framing size and the framing shape. And you do that and you move that into something else. And, you know, you keep interpreting it until you find something that fits and you're confident with it. And I don't actually remember which one was the final one. I think it was this. This was it. The idea is cabaret dancers use these props that are fans, and we really like that, and we use that as a frame. So from there, you refine everything, and the client says, great, I love it. And then you start executing, and you'll print the business cards, you'll build the website, you know, and after all that is done, then you've got a brand.
I see. It seems like there's lots of works that you're doing. Like you have to be insightful, artistic, and collaborative. But what would be the 21st century skills that you deem the most important in your role?
I think it's flexibility.
Flexibility.
You come out of, I guess, university or your first couple jobs, and you feel like you have a system,
Mm-hmm.
and you need to learn, you have to be very, very familiar with this system, right? Because design, there's a process.
Mm-hmm.
But up to a point, you need to be familiar with it enough to know when to break the rules,
Mm-hmm.
because you'll always need to adapt and change.
Yeah, definitely.
Um, and that can't throw you off, and you
Mhm.
can't take it personally.
I also want to ask you what would be, because many students would be curious about the perceptions versus reality of your job. Did you have
Hmm.
any perceptions that's changed or remained?
Yeah, I think my first initial perception was being a designer, you get to create all this cool stuff, and it's, just, I think cool was really like the word, because we came out of school super excited about being able to design amazing stuff and, change the world. And product designers, you come out thinking, oh, we're going to design a product that's somehow going to be super impactful.
Mhm.
But the realization is those thoughts are important, and the skills that you learn are really important. But really, where I'm at now, it's always about, empathy and people.
Mhm.
I think that's where I put most of my energy, is trying to kind of understand people from their perspectives. Hard skills is always easy to learn, especially now with YouTube and Skillshare and anything, right? If I need to learn a hard skill for a new project, then I'll learn that. But something that I'm always trying to be in tune with is kind of like see the world in other people's eyes, because we're building businesses for different people.
Mhm.
So we have to always kind of change our perspectives to different clients,
Mhm.
you
I
know,
see.
and that can be quite difficult.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that's something I'm practicing all the time.
Then what do you see, um, how do you think the future of your industry be like?
I don't know. I feel it's quite bright,
Right.
ish. Hong Kong is a difficult place to be a creative. It always has been, and it's better. It's a lot better than when we first started, which was like 10 years ago, right? But it's still tough, because culturally, the arts and design it's not there historically. Hong Kong and a lot of kind of like Asian cities, the arts is a new thing. It's like a modern cultural
Mhm.
concept, I guess. So there will be clients that we meet that aren't really accepting of it, and they'll lowball us in cost and, basic stuff.
Mhm.
But in the last like 10 years of doing this, I feel like artists and designers are more confident, because the clientele is more accepting that this is something they need. So designers starting to have more say, and they're able to push boundaries a little bit more and be a lot more expressive. And yeah, I think it's just an education thing. So as things go on, especially now, I think a lot of people realize they need an edge, and they need someone else, like a consultant, to come in and help them think, how can their brand adapt and change.
Mhm.
So we're getting a lot of new clients like that now, where they have businesses that are struggling now, but they need people to help them strategize and think, okay, how do we move forward? What's the next message that we need to say to our consumers?
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks so much for your like insightful information for us and the students. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now we'll move on to the live Q&A session. Okay.
Awesome.